Welcome to the Scottsdale Vibes podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Haygood. Music is a huge part of our life, and let me tell you about this Scottsdale Jazz Festival that is coming up the last weekend here in April. I have the privilege of having the one and only legendary Doc Jones at the table with me today. We are going to have a great conversation. We're going to talk music, we're going to talk love, we're going to talk passion, and then we'll get to the Jazz Festival eventually. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have Doc Jones at the table with me. Buying a home can be scary and sometimes frustrating, but all of that can go away with the right realtor. And that's where Sean Shackleton with the Shackleton Group is here for you. Sean has over 25 years experience in real estate. She's here to get you what you want and won't settle for less. She's experienced, knowledgeable, and understands this market, which these days is always changing. Take the stress out of your next home purchase by calling Sean at 480-734-7277. You can also find her at theshackletongroup.com. Music is something we all need in our lives. It can change a mood, enhance an experience, and bring joy to a simple day. While I'm a fan of many genres, jazz has a special place to me and my family. It's something I really enjoy listening to while cooking dinner with my family. My kids will actually start to pretend to play an instrument or something for what they hear. It's just something that really means a lot to our family. And I'm so excited to have local jazz legend at the table with me today, Doc Jones. Doc Jones moved to Arizona in 1986 and has brought the jazz scene alive. And this month, he's leading up the Scottsdale Jazz Festival, where jazz musicians gather to play, dance, and give us a good time. So, Doc, welcome to the table. I'm so excited, and I really do feel privileged to be sitting here in front of you. But let's just start with, you've been in the music industry forever. I feel like when people like you are a part of this industry, you were born into it. So tell me about what music means to you, and when did you find the love of jazz?
Great questions. First of all, I'm honored to be here with you this evening, this afternoon. Actually, it's this morning.
Yeah.
You know, musicians, we work late, so we don't normally get up this early.
Well, thank you.
But music, as you just stated, it's been in my life, I guess all my life. Well, that's really not a true statement. I almost missed it.
Did you?
Yeah, I almost missed it. I didn't begin to get involved with music until I was 21 years old.
Oh, wow.
I had already been married for a number of years and with two children. And my wonderful wife was working at a junior college at that time, and she kind of saw my interest beginning to sway more towards my friends in Chicago, and we was kind of getting in a little trouble. So she said, I think you need to change something. And then I wound up in this junior college and met a woman, Miss Mullally was her name, back in 1971, and she said, "Mom, what do you like to do?" I said, "Well, I'm very good at doing nothing." We practice that and with my friends. And anyway, the short story is she introduced me to the piano and some dance classes. And I saw what I almost missed, and that was a passion and a gift that God had given me. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
That is an older age to really find music and instruments. From where you were at 21 to where you are now, you would have think you started at 3 years old or something.
True. But one of the things that I learned, because I'm an educator as well, is once you find that passion, then it takes over you. And then school became to be fun. And so I began to go every day, stay all day long, practice in the evening. And my wife, and I'm glad my mother and father got a chance to actually hear me, move into the direction that I was getting in. So I'm glad I found it. I almost missed it.
That's it found you almost too.
I think it did. I really did.
So you started off with piano, like most people do, I feel like. What was the instrument after that led you to more?
Well, my primary instrument is saxophone.
Right.
And
I've heard you play, and man, it gives me chills.
Right. And then once we began to do that, I ended up back in, I guess about 20 years ago now, back to the piano. The piano was just something that got me started. But I have a daughter that's in this industry now, Nigel Jones, and she began to sing, and the piano players wasn't kind of playing the way I wanted them to play, so I wound up on the piano, and I must say I've been on there for the last 20 years, about 18 years, and I've been not paying attention to my saxophone as much as I should have.
Well, you mentioned it. One of your daughters is in the industry. You have 5 children.
I do.
So tell me what music meant to your family at this point, raising these kids.
Well, that's a great question. My oldest daughter, which is 10 years older than we had children in 2 different decades almost, they again found music, as I did. My oldest daughter began to play the flute about 8 years old, and I saw that twinkle in her eye.
Yeah.
And then she began to go to school and never missed a day in school, and it definitely helps. That's when I realized that if you can give a young person something that they like to do, the academics come easy for them.
You talk about, that was one of my questions later on, but let's just go into it. You took music and now you do schools. Talk about how you took 2 very important passions of you, the music industry and schooling, and now you combine it and create schools for students.
Well, again, back in Chicago, once I realized that passion had taken me away from some of the things that we was doing that would have got us in trouble, I immediately ran back to my younger brothers. I got a younger brother that plays as well now, and he picked it up, and the same thing happened. And then I went back, and some of my friends that was members of some gangs, they changed their lifestyle. They traded in some of them weapons that they had for for instruments.
I love that.
And then we started inner city school. And that's what I've been doing now for the last 25 years, developing curriculums in inner city schools to kind of work with the young people at risk.
Are you doing music with that or just anything in general?
No, music, definitely music education is what my degrees are in.
I love that you're just replacing the weapon with an instrument and finding new ways to bring people together.
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk about this because, man, do you have a career. I'm still shocked that you didn't start till 21. You've had some amazing once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. You've played with big names such as Aretha Franklin, The Temptations, the Staple Singers, which actually are the bands and genre that I grew up on. My mom was 100% an oldies, Temptations. I have memories of singing Aretha Franklin with her. What a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Talk to me about that and how you've kind of brought that back into your everyday music life.
Well, first of all, I don't want to give the impression that, that I was one of them guys.
I know.
No, not at all. I've always been a jazz musician and never wanted to be in the background playing behind people as I did. But my cousin, which happened to be the band director for Temptation, and Otis, actually. And anyway, he had a tour date coming up, the saxophone player, something happened, and they needed a saxophone player for about 10 days in Europe. So he said, nephew, cuzzo, you got to come out. I said, man, I'm not, I'm married with kids, and I don't like to be out. He said, man, you got to come out. So I went out. The best time I had, truthfully. It was a wonderful time, too. Them guys never stop. I mean, when they hit the stage, it's on. So it was great to have that experience. I put that in my little trough. And Aretha, we was in New Orleans, and she was there.
Oh, what a place to play.
Right. And she had a big band. It was 18 of us, so it wasn't me standing on the stage playing with her like that. But it was a great opportunity, and I met her, and she loved my passion for education and what it was about, and told me that that's what my calling is, and don't give it up. But I've been a band leader for many years, and I have a lot of guys to play in my band.
Yeah, let's talk about that because that's what you're known for. It is being this band leader and bringing this band together. I had the privilege of watching you at we had the Mayor Ortega for his State of the City speech earlier this year, and that's where I was just like, I couldn't eat. Like, we were sitting there at lunch and I was just mesmerized listening to you. It seemed so natural, Doc, for you to be there in your element. You felt like there was no one else around but you and your band up there. Talk to me about that feeling and how you find people to connect with to make this band work.
Well, once again, one of the finer things about great musicians come to play with me now, and if you was there, you heard that drummer Fred Boswell Jr. He's a phenomenon. He's only 26 years old.
Jeez.
And then have Dan Pinson with me, he's a staple around town. So these guys playing with me, and Dennis Sexton. I mean, all you got to do is just turn them guys loose, and I just started doing my thing, and it just happens. And and most of us been playing together many years, so it felt like we had been practicing all. We play a lot, so we didn't need a lot of practice.
Yeah.
And that wasn't a show. That was just us doing something in the
Playing.
background. Yeah.
I think that says a lot. Many people that play music, jazz in particular, jam band is another scene. It's really just you in yourself, and then everyone else comes together. How does that work with jazz? How do you know I'm going to do this and someone else is like, oh, I'm feeling that. I'm going to bring this in. Like, how does that work? Or is it really it just does? It's like magic.
Well, first of all, we learn whatever songs they are, there's some type of structure to
Okay.
it. And what we call A, B, A is a structure that we use. The A simply means the primary melody, and then you repeat that melody, then you go into a bridge, and then you go to the last 8 of that structure. And that's the structure. So we could play around that structure all day long. And then once we understand the chord progressions, then you free. Then that's what I love about jazz. And it's like, you don't have to know. I know he's going to go there. I know he's going to come in here, and we just be playing. And it's a lot of fun, really.
Can you do that with people the moment you meet them? Like if you just bring in a random jazz player, saxophone player, or whatever, because understand that basic rhythm, can they just come in and y'all find that rhythm together because you have that basic knowledge?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And then another thing to go along with that structure is we say, what's the style?
Yeah.
So if we're going to swing, we're going to swing. We might play bossa nova. Okay, this is going to be funk, so give me a funk, give me a Latin beat. And so once we establish that with the drummer, it's free then.
Gosh.
And it happens.
I'm just so happy right now talking. I can just feel it. Like I can just feel your emotion with it. All right, let's see. I have lived all over the United States. I grew up in the South. You want to talk about some jazz in the South? I went to school in Mississippi. One of the beginning of time for jazz and blues. Lived in Chicago for a stint. Loved some Kingston Mines. Visited there all the time.
Wow.
And
Did your mother know you was going over there?
I brought her there, actually. And I will tell you a Kingston Mines story. If you don't know Kingston Mines, you need to go check it out. But we went there, and that's actually where my husband asked my parents for permission to marry me, was at Kingston Mines.
Wow.
Yes. I mean, just the memories I have there, and it's a namesake. But you came here in '86, what jazz scene, what blues scene was here in Arizona and Scottsdale that really, I can't imagine it, so I don't know. Was there one, or did you create it?
No. By no means that I created it. It was a wonderful scene that's here, and actually goes back some. When I started doing my research, it was traditional music, traditional jazz, standards we call it, and creative like that. When I got here, I was kind of used to a different style.
I know, that's what, yeah.
And the reason for that is the last band that I played in, and my mentor played music based on what we call modal sounds and African sounds and drums and percussions, and that wasn't here. At least I didn't know. I didn't know it was here. I hadn't been around. I hadn't saw. I was just playing this random stuff. Had the pleasure working with Francine Reed and the Reed family, which is well known here. Then I happened to stumble in on a club one night and heard these Latin guys playing. And I was like, man, what is that? I ran in the club and I said, I went back out and got my horn and came back in.
Did you?
And that was the beginning of what made me really want to stay here. I was introduced to Latin jazz, which I hadn't played back in Chicago, and man, it hasn't stopped since. I mean, the dance, the music, the food, it was just all there. And I said, this is what I want to learn to play, and I did. Start hanging out with the Cubans and the Dominicans, Puerto Ricans.
That's so true. I never thought about it, how there is different jazz, there's different blues, and they all work together though. And it really started by demographics of it, where you're at in the U.S., New Orleans jazz is another, but they're so close. What is the difference between jazz and blues? Is there a difference, or is it, big band jazz is something that's so fun too?
It's simply, yes, it is a difference, and that's what confuses a lot of people.
Yeah.
When you hear jazz, you think of old people. You think of the standard swing and what we did back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. But no, there's a lot of different genres within jazz, and I appreciate it. I went to New Orleans in '93. Didn't like it really. It was on Bourbon Street. They was not playing what I was used to.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I stayed down there on tour for about 8 weeks, and then I came home. I can't take this. This is too southern for me.
Yeah.
But now in 2008, I shut down my club here and went back to New Orleans, and I'm glad I did. That's when I realized, because I had lost the creativeness here. They were just playing music here, and with nobody into it. I mean, like really as a career, we're just making a living. I went back to New Orleans, man, and got away from Bourbon Street, went down to Frenchman Street, and that's where it was happening at. I said, oh, this is where
it is different.
It is. I mean, the young people playing, everybody can play, so it was just fun. And I was ready to move, but my wife said, no, you coming back there. You coming. And my daughter, I ended up, setting up a media company down there, and my daughter stayed down there playing, and she's down there now doing very well.
That's great.
So I go in and out all the time.
Let's take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk Scottsdale Jazz Festival, what we can expect, what we can get excited about, and what we're going to hear.
Oh, buddy, we got a time for you.
I'm excited. When it comes to family-friendly dentistry, there's only one place in Scottsdale, and that's Arizona Center for Laser Dentistry. Teeth cleaning, innovative, pain-free laser dentistry, teeth whitening, root canals, and really any dental need you may have, Dr. Rob and his staff at Arizona Center for Laser Dentistry can handle it all. They're more than just a dentist, they really are family. We've been going there for over 3 years, and my family loves them. When your kids get excited to go to the dentist, you know you've got a good one. Dr. Rob DeVito is the only dentist in town that can handle it all. Give him a call at 480-990-1905. You can find him on the web at drdevito.com. And don't forget to tell him you heard him on the podcast. All right, we are sitting here with the legendary Doc Jones, and let's talk about Jazz Fest, Scottsdale Jazz Festival. I want to hear about it. Tell me the details. It's happening the last weekend in April because it's National Jazz Day, I believe, right?
It's Jazz Appreciation Month and International Jazz Day.
Yes. Okay, on April 30th.
April 30th, the weekend of April 30th is what we do.
So let's talk about it. Where is it going to be? What can we expect? And how much dancing am I going to be doing?
Bring them shoes, because we got.
I'm going to say barefoot. I can move easier with no shoes. How about that?
We have an extraordinary lineup this year, but it starts out that weekend actually at the Western Curling.
Okay.
We got a tremendous pre-party for those who has bought VIP tickets and want to join us. Going to have catered food, dancing. I mean, some super bands that day coming in, which will be April the 28th.
Okay.
Mark your calendar.
It is on my calendar. I'm going to make
April 28th. And go to the Western Curlers website, and you will see it's called Curling After Dark.
Yes,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, so I'd like you to get my friend Karen, which is the marketing director, in here to talk more about that. And they're a great supporter of ours. Then the big day, the weekend starts. That Saturday, which is April the 29th, we got a tremendous lineup. We got jazz, funk, and soul, led by Jeff Lobar, Everett Hart, and Paul Jackson Jr.
Yeah.
We played on all of Michael Jackson's stuff.
Gosh.
It's great. Then the one and only, because I'm going to keep it legit. I have my good friend Azar Lawrence. Azar Lawrence replaced John Coltrane.
Okay.
When Train passed away, McCordy called him up at 21 years old, 22, something like that. And he's just, that guy's been a phenomenon ever since. So you definitely want to come in here, Azar Lawrence. But right before Azar Lawrence, we got the one and only Donald Harrison. Man, he's bringing the flavor of New Orleans right to Scottsdale, Arizona. And he truly is a friend. And this guy, he going to bring, I said, Don, I need some some of that New Orleans. He said, I'm there, Doc. And this is during the time when New Orleans Jazz Festival, which happens all over the world.
Yeah.
He chose us over there.
Did he? That says something, man. That's another great event, too.
Right. So we got that going on. Then who else? We got Mario Abney also from New Orleans, now based out of Chicago. So we got a tremendous lineup for that Saturday. Then Sunday, International Jazz Day. Talk a little bit about that. What is International Jazz Day? Most people don't know. Well, Herbie Hancock and the United Nations saw that here in the United States, jazz was decreasing, has been declining, I should say, over the number of years because of radio stations and all that. And he said, Doc, we got to do something, And they started, I didn't, they started International Jazz Day. Now it's celebrated in 196 countries.
Yeah, wow.
All over the world on April 30th, people are doing something.
Wow.
Either small events, large events, movies. It's a wonderful what Herbie has done. And like I said, I met him for the very first one in New Orleans. He said, you have this not podcast, you got this magazine, because I have magazines in several different states. And my wife said, come on back here. I came back here and put on the first International Jazz Day Festival downtown Phoenix, and it has grown from 200 people to we'll have 5,000 people this year.
That's fantastic. I'm so excited. What day are you playing?
Don't tell nobody, but I plan not to play.
So you say.
That's what, yeah. So
I guarantee you something's going to happen, and I'm going to see you up on stage at some random point. Most likely
that happens, especially when my daughter comes in. I got her, and we'll talk a little bit about Jazz Appreciation Month and what my plans are for Jazz Appreciation Month. But I normally, get a stage up during that time, and there's a lot of moving parts that day. But I always wound up on stage.
Of course you do.
Jazz Appreciation Month starts out, and we're honored to kick off at Tempe Center for the Arts on April the 8th. I'm doing something called From Gospel to Jazz. I'm showing the correlation between how gospel music turned into jazz. And that's at 7 o'clock, doors open, hosted by Mayor Corey Woods, a wonderful mayor over there. And then this will be the 8th Jazz at Lunchtime, which that's where I I'm doing it now in Phoenix, but we did it at the state capitol. Mm-hmm. We would shut down the state capitol, bring out all the legislators and all of that. I did that as far as for lobbying. I was able to get a bill passed. HCR 2017, look it up, declaring April Jazz Appreciation Month, April 30th, International Jazz Day. And the House passed it.
Good for you.
Yeah. So we will be down at Civic Space this year.
Okay.
Hosted by Mayor Gallego. Kay Gallego will be hosted. Will be our guest speaker, I should say, that day down there. That's from 3 to 8 on April the 12th. Got some exciting.
So there's stuff going on all month for us.
Yes.
Good.
And then my daughter on April the 23rd, I got something I'm doing at the Mesa Arts Center, hosted by that mayor. And I'm calling it Women's Global Jazz Summit. It's going to be women all day playing this music, all jazz, all day. So it's going to be a wonderful event, and it's free. So please put that
even better. Yeah.
Put that on your calendar, April the 23rd at Mesa Arts Center. And then the Weekend Star.
Yes, now we're talking.
Right, the Weekend Star, which again I said will be at the Curlin on that Friday night. Put that on your calendar. Saturday and Sunday we will be at the Scottsdale Civic Center Park. It's called. Beautiful. They just
redid it. Y'all got an awesome stage. You got brand new, under the ground sound system to feel it. Are y'all
$35 million.
Are y'all the first concert and stuff to be held there? Wow.
We are. That's what the mayor told me. And again, that would be hosted by Mayor David Ortega, which is a wonderful mayor. He is doing a great job. So that's going to be exciting.
You're a busy month. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
We get in there. So please go to ScottsdaleJazzFest.org.
Okay.
and get these tickets. We want to sell out, so we need all of. This is actually an opportunity. I've created a signature jazz festival for the great city of Scottsdale, as well as Mesa, Tempe, and Phoenix. But definitely Scottsdale for the International Jazz Day weekend, which happens all over the world.
I love that. Doc, if you had to describe one word that music means to you, what would it be?
Life.
Interesting. Yeah.
Life. I mean, what can I say? Music is in all of our lives in some form or another.
Yeah.
And it gives you an opportunity. When you're sad, you can put some music on and feel better. If you're happy, you want to feel fun. Music is it's in our lives.
Yeah.
Whether we stand in an elevator or we actually on the stage playing. So I would say life. It gives us life, and it's in all over the world. And there's so many different styles of music and musicians playing. And that's why I love the MIMS, because if you ever
that's a great museum.
It shows you what's happening in some of the parts of the world that you would never think.
It's the one form of language that you don't need to understand the words to understand the meaning. And you can listen to the Spanish music and I can still shake my booty. It makes my hips move in ways that I can't explain.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. All right, Doc, I'm going to save the hardest question for last. What's your favorite Scottsdale vibe?
Give me 2 seconds here to think about this. I would say, truthfully, the not only the beautiful weather here, but the vibe that I get when I come to Scottsdale is that it is it's an opportunity for diversity that's happening now.
That's great to hear.
It didn't happen, I must say, when I first got here in '83. Although it's been wonderful for me. They have embraced me. The last 3 mayors have. And then when we played down on what's that, Mills, and that's in Tempe, but Marshall Way, we should play down there for the art walk as well.
Yeah.
And so the vibe I get is great people. I've always met great people here, and the mayors love me, so I love them.
I love that. Well, go check out ScottsdaleJazzFest.org. Go get your tickets now. You don't want to miss it. And there's plenty of events going on all month long. Doc, thank you so much. What a pleasure and honor to be sitting in front of you today. And I can't wait to see all the festival and fun, most importantly, that we're going to have this month.
Well, I want you to know, I want to thank you, Alicia. And it's been, this really has made this a comfortable interview for me, and I appreciate that, and I can't wait to see it.
I love it. All right, stay tuned. We'll have some calendar events coming up. When it comes to protecting you, your family, and all your assets, you need to have someone that you can trust, and that's Jeremy Mueller of State Farm Insurance. Jeremy Mueller has lived in Scottsdale his whole life. How can anyone else know your needs more than someone who's been here and seen it all? Jeremy and his team are always ranked in the top % at State Farm. He cares, he's knowledgeable, and most importantly, he's always available. Don't believe me? Give him a call at 480-515-5223 or find him at jeremymueller.com. I hope you have a wonderful week, Scottsdale. Keep vibing, and I'll see you around town.